some presentations. I know that there's a lot that's happening today, and we want to, again, take the opportunity to hear from our friends from Morgan Stanley and also nationwide. So with that, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. Our first presentation of our first quarter ending March 31st, 2022, investment reports for 1945 and 49 pension plans, along with the April 2022 update.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate
you.
that. Mayor, Commissioner. I'm going to go ahead and just start through the report. We'll talk about the market a little bit. I'm not bringing good news today, but I think if anyone has turned on the news at any point this beginning of the year, you know that the markets have been pretty rough to start the year off. Actually, I mean, we really, if you think about the markets overall, history is being made right now. So I'm going to go ahead and start right here. If we talk about, if we kind of look back and we think about the investment world and how we really refer to the March 2020 timeframe as the COVID bear market, I think you'll look at back historically today and remember this as the worst bear market in bonds in the last 50 years. The bond market has been reacting to the Federal Reserve's policy pivot. When we look back at the long-dated U.S. Treasuries, they've declined 10% in the first quarter of the year. And the Barclays aggregate, which is what we widely use to measure the bond market, was down 6%. And so volatility in the risk-free assets has really been one of the worst that we have seen in some time. Fixed income market right now, and when we look back a couple of months ago, going back to the first quarter, was really pricing in 10 to 11 quarter-point Federal Reserve rate hikes for the year. Of which we've received 3 so far. We had the first quarter-point raise in April and then 50 basis points last week in May. And one of the things that has begged into question is whether or not in the current environment, whether the bond market is telling us that we have an impending recession. And I think it's a little too early to say that and to put that. I think recession probabilities have obviously can jump, and they're depending upon the speed of the data and the deceleration or deterioration in financial conditions. But if we look at inflation overall, we go back to January, we remind ourselves that inflation numbers were 7.5%, January, February 7.9%, in March 8.5%, and then the numbers that we just got out for April were 8.3%. So we're hopeful that we are peaking out of inflation and we're going to start to see that come down. That remains to be seen at this point. Employment numbers, we'll look back at March and April, we're at 3.6%, so we've had steady employment. But when we look at the overall environment and we look at the equity market, just in general, we've had a really volatile start to the year. The S&P 500 for the first quarter actually ended down 4.6%, and this marks the first negative quarter that we've had since the beginning of the pandemic. So during the quarter, the market traded down as much as 13%, but we did have a rally in March that brought us back up. And what you'll see is since March, with that rally, we've come down some more. And so I've got an update in here through April for you as well. But with just 5 months, if we look at today, 5 months into the year, I mean, we've had profit estimates for 2022 have actually been revised slightly higher. Really, that comes on the back of commodity prices that are spiking, higher interest rates putting pressure on the credit markets. The U.S. dollar is up double digits, which is going to make it difficult for U.S. companies operating overseas to do business. Tight labor markets that are experiencing wage inflation, demand that we believe is going to start to show some slowing, as well as the war in Ukraine. And so what we think we're seeing today is that earnings estimates are a little too high, and we expect those to come down in the coming months. Not to say that we won't have a rally in between now and then, but we do think we will dip down a little bit lower than we are today before the end of the year. So we think this volatility will continue, but that we are in a cyclical bear market, and that doesn't necessarily change our long-term plans, but we do think that we are in a pivotal point in the market right now, that we are going to see some continued volatility. Just looking at on the page we have up for you, you can see, and I mentioned this in my commentary, that the S&P 500 for the first quarter of the year, down 4.6%, the best Asset class to own for the quarter was energy stocks. They were actually positive, up 39%. We've all seen the price at the pump, so we know that energy and gas stocks have all been up. The worst performing sector for the quarter was communication services, which were down 11.9%. The international markets, the developed international markets down 5.9% in the quarter, and then your emerging markets down 6.9%, having a little more of a brunt of that because of the currencies. And then I mentioned to you the Barclays aggregate, which is widely what we use to measure the bond market, down 5.9% in the quarter. If you went down and you looked at the longest, long-dated U.S. Treasuries, that actual index was down 11% for the quarter. When we take a look at the 1949 plan, we began the year at just over $83,626,798. We've had net contributions of just over $2,751 into the pension fund, and an investment loss for the first quarter of $4,261,449, which brings us to that ending market value of $79,368,100. If you'll remember, when I was here in February and we talked about where the market was going, we talked about through the first 6 months of the year that we felt like through the summer we would have some downtime. We're kind of paying back. We had a great 2020 and a great 2021 for performance, but we are giving a little bit of that back now, but we're certainly starting off of a higher level. And so even though the numbers may look pretty rough, from a dollar perspective, we're in a much better position today than we were then. If you look at the asset allocation, which is in the bottom left-hand side, our domestic equity, we're right at 63%. We have 12.9% in international equities, 23.9% in fixed income, and just a little bit of cash because at the end of the quarter, we had just sent out our transfer payments, actually the last day of the quarter for your pension payments. Look at performance for your managers. Your large cap value manager, which is NFJ, we're down 4.9% for the quarter. At Atlanta, your large cap core manager down 4%. MDT, which is your all cap manager, down 3.36%. Then we had your two international, Lazard, which is your more value oriented, down 7.8%. And then we have Thornburg, which has more growthier stocks in it, down right at 10%. PIMCO, your bond manager, down 5.8% for the quarter, which that brings your total performance with your cash to negative 4.87%. So not a ton different than when we were here in February. When we were here in February, it was right 3.3%. So we're down a little bit more. You'll see the market difference when we really look at the April timeframe on your update. And that just shows actually down 11.4% right now. And that's because the month of April, we have had a really rough time in the market. The actual market through May and through today is down. S&P down right around 13% through last night, I believe. It's positive today, but we do think that this continue through the summer, we're going to have a continued volatility. 1945 plan, very similar. If you look at the beginning market value, we started just over $6,109,000. We had net contributions, which are positive of $215,480. An investment loss of $289,223. This is a little bit more of a conservative plan, but with the bond market selling off like it has, you'll see the performance doesn't look much different. Ending market value of just over $6,035,717, 56.4% in equities, and cash just right under the 3.7% mark, with your fixed income at 39.8%. Similar performance because we have similar managers. Fiscal year, your large cap value manager down 4.9%, your large cap core manager down 4.1%, your all cap manager down 3.44%, your fixed income down 5.86%, which takes you to net with cash, a little more cash on hand here, a little less equities, down 4.44%. Again, when we move to that April number, just about double, down 10.2%. I do hope that, as we move through the summer, we get this volatility out of the way. I do think that we probably may retest those lows, and so I think that we could have a little more of a downside before we start to make that turn. We have a lot of issues that we're working through and just kind of digesting this new environment that we're going to be in fixed income, and how we're working through our inflation numbers and how those seem to, hopefully the Fed has navigated us, and we will have somewhat of a softer landing, and we're hopeful that that works through and that all the policies that are in place make it a little bit better for us by the end of the year. Not expecting with where we are right now, May 17th, that when I come back to give you the second quarter review, that not expecting that to be a positive yet, but hopefully we'll have turned the corner by the time we actually have that meeting. Any questions for me on the market or the performance?
So Heather, this morning I was reading my Business Insider, and both Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley are forecasting more downside.
Yes.
As we think about that, particularly in terms of returns on investment, how many people, and I know I ask this often, how many people do we have in the 45 pension, and what are we telling them?
Mm-hmm. So the 45 pension plan today, now this was as of the valuation, which was January of 20. I haven't seen a valuation since then. We had 20 retirees and that were still in the plan, retirees and disabled, and we had 0 active employees currently in the 45 plan, still working.
Okay.
Yep. And then just in case you're curious on the 49 plan, I had those numbers as well. We had 11 active, 199 retired or disabled, 12 deferred that were vested for a total of 222, and that was through January as well.
Very well.
And so when we think about investing, we always keep in mind that we're long-term investors. We will have short-term fluctuations in the market, but we're managing these for the longer term. And so what we're telling clients today is if you have short-term cash flow needs, I think it would make sense for you, as we do see a rally, we think there is a rally coming short-term, that you make that cash available. So this is not one of those buy the dips or buy the rally. We think this is more of a sell the rally short-term if you have cash flow needs, but remain a long-term investor in your portfolio because we do think this will work its way through.
Great. Thank you. Are there any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Clerk, next presentation.
Mr. Mayor, you do have a quorum. Can we just receive this as information for the record with Ms. Dowse, yourself, and
Certainly.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there any objection to receiving this as information? Without objection, receive
Okay.
this information.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Louis Grace. I'm the Nationwide Retirement Specialist for Augusta, Richmond County, and my presentation today is going to be about the deferred comp plan, the 457B deferred comp plan. I help all your employees invest in that plan, whoever wants to. It is a completely voluntary plan. It's meant to work in conjunction with the pension that you offer all your employees. And so I'm here to answer any questions about that, but give you some good information about the plan, how we stand, and move forward there. So just to reiterate, it is completely voluntary. A lot of employees realize that the pension is based on how long they work here. That's going to determine what kind of benefit they get in the end. And so they want to save some money on their own, and this is a good way to do that. So the slide on the screen that you see is just a snapshot of assets as of the end of March. We're at $34,511,000 in assets, and you see a further breakdown of that. I'm going to move on because we're going to dive into some of these numbers in further detail. Again, you see that total number at the top. The next section down there where it says how many are participating, we have 1,660 employees participating in the program. That means they have opened a 457B account. Now only 936 of those are actively deferring. So 656 are inactive. That means they're most likely either employed and have just stopped making contributions, or they've left and maybe not be listed as terminated yet, but we only have 68 employees who are actually in payout. That means they've left Augusta Richmond County and are receiving money out. Now with the 457B, you don't have to reach a certain retirement age to access these funds once you have left Augusta Richmond County. You can do that at age 35, at age 55. It doesn't matter. The age doesn't matter. It's the triggering event is when you have left Augusta Richmond County and you can access those funds. So those 68 in payout may be retirement age, but they may not be. All right, the over to the right there, where it says how are they saving and investing, we've got average account balance of $20,790. So that's for all the way from your firefighters who just started and are saving, all the way to people who've been here decades and decades and are saving. So it's an average account balance. Average contribution amount of $93, and we'll show a trend there in a later slide. The bottom of this page indicates what type of engagement we have with the participants. So like we said, 1,660 enrolled. Of that many, 781 have established an online account. So that online account gives them access to the information about their investments. There's a ton of information on that website that they can see about their account, but also educational data, all kind of good information. There's an interactive retirement planner that we use there that we encourage them to get in touch with. A lot of time, anytime I'm doing an account review with an employee, I'm working off that website. And I encourage them to set up an account so they can monitor it. I never encourage people to be everyday statement watchers. We were humorously joking before the meeting that if you got your statement in April, you might want to just leave that one in the drawer and not look at that one because the market is negative. But we find that the people who do have an online account are much more engaged, and people who are much more engaged are much more likely to have a plan, and those who have a plan are much more likely to reach that plan. So we do encourage that kind of activity. So this is enrollment data here. You know, one of my main jobs is to educate people about the 457B and enroll people. So if you look at the lower part first, you see a by-year trend. So in 2017, we enrolled 179 people, 2018, 299, so on and so forth. You can see in 2020, we had a major dip. That's where for the majority of that year, myself, I was not on site, couldn't see people face to face much of that year. And then about this time last year is when I started coming back on site, could be out at all the utility departments, the fire stations, the sheriff's department, here for new employee orientation, so on and so forth. And we found that as much as we can do virtually, which is a lot, there's something about being face-to-face when people are first learning about this program. So we've seen an uptick again in enrollments. And then year-to-date, we're at 45 new enrollments through March, which is a solid number. So this is a breakdown a little bit further. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. Just we were talking about actively deferring, inactive, and payout. This gives you a breakdown of how many in each of those categories are male and female. This is a further look into your average account balance. Now, where it says peer average there, so that the Augusta Richmond County plan has $34 million in assets. So this plan, when we compare it to your peers would be other public sector plans that have similar assets. Doesn't really look at number of employees, but similar assets in the public sector. So these could be plans in Nevada, in California, in North Dakota. It could be anywhere in the United States. But the Augusta Richmond County plan, as far as average account size is on the low side, as well as average contribution per pay. Now, if you've been in a room with me more than 5 minutes, usually you've heard me say you want to start where you're comfortable with your contribution amount, and you want to get in the habit of bumping up once a year. That is the mantra I preach year over year over year. You'll see that the trend is, it's almost a flat line, but at least we're headed in the right direction. You see in 2018, 2019, 2020, the contribution amount dipped a little bit, and now we're headed back in the right direction with that. But that is certainly what we encourage, is people to be increasing their contribution amount on a regular basis.
Louis, I have a series of questions, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
The plan participants of the 1,666, I don't know if this data is readily available. I think it's somewhat germane. Do we know the tenure of those employees who are plan participants? And number two, do we have an idea of generally the average age of those plan participants?
Yeah, actually, if we go back here, looking at the top portion where it says actively deferring, 936 employees. Actually, I think it's easier to see it here. Okay, 1,660 employees, on the left side, 936 actively deferring. You see the different age ranges there. So it doesn't give me an exact number, but you see there are members of each age group there. Now, I do not have tenure data here, so that under 30 could be a 29-year-old who's already got 10 years in with the fire department or police department. I don't know. But you see the age range at least there. I could effort to get that data if that's something you wanted to see. But does that partially answer your question?
It partially answers the question. I mean, I think, again, when you look at the metric that you had in terms of what the average account balance is here in Augusta, but in similar markets, it's higher. Mm-hmm. I think there are contributing factors to that. Age, tenure, those things play a significant role in that. And that could then help in terms of further promoting early investing.
Yes.
And how people engage. And so with that data, I think it will provide our team with more information that encourages and informs, that says, hey, invest early.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. I would say the only other thing to keep in mind there is some of these plans you're being compared against may or may not have a traditional pension they're offering too. If they do not, then that employee population is going to be much more incentivized to save in a 457 because they don't have anything else. So it doesn't say what percent. Now, I would say if it's public sector, the majority probably do offer a pension or a defined contribution plan alongside, but that data is not.
Yeah, and certainly in Augusta's case, we have GMAPs for those that are not 49 or 45 pension.
Exactly.
Or 77.
That's right. Okay, just finishing up, this is a slide. The middle of the slide is very important and really good news. Only a very small portion of your population has their money all in one asset class. So that darkest color on that, we're looking at that color wheel there, 15.7% has their money all in one asset class. And I know by experience that the vast majority of that is in the nationwide fixed account. Those are people who've said, I want to take no risk, and they put their money in the fixed account. Hopefully those people who are in or very close to retirement because they're not really growing very fast, but they've taken risk off the table as far as market risk. The vast majority of your employees are invested in 5+ asset classes, and that is very healthy. That's what we want to see. So I'm very pleased with that. Below that, there are 954 employees taking advantage of Pro Account. That's our professionally managed account service. And that is good news. That accounts for $11.5 million roughly of the balance in the plan. you've already seen the top part of this. This is just another way to look at it. You can see the gap is actually closed and you're above when it comes to retirement readiness. Now, retirement readiness is just a term we use. Those are for people who have not only opened an online account, but have used that online account to work with our interactive retirement planner, have seen where they stand as far as closeness to retirement and how they're prepared for retirement. And we're saying 42% of those people are on track to hit retirement successfully. Now, I find that unfortunately, when people get into this tool, sometimes they don't enter in all the data correctly. And so there may be, even though it says only 42% are on target, if they haven't entered in all the correct data, it's going to show they're not on track. So whenever I do an account review, that's one of the first things I'm checking with them. I doubt we want to belabor this very long. This gets into the details of, what percentage of the entire plan is in mid cap, small cap, large cap, all the different asset classes. Total contributions by asset class, where are people putting their money currently? Just another way to look at it, if you like pie charts, like me. And this at the bottom here, this also shows the Roth assets. So year before last, we offered a Roth option. So now we have dollars flowing into the Roth side of things, so people can make after-tax contributions, and that is a real benefit as well. Okay. This is just contributions that have come in year to date and rollovers. So just looks like one small rollover has come in so far year to date. And then change in the balance from the last quarter. As you would expect, with the market down, the overall balance is down. And then change from last year, up 10.2% over last year. And these are always just additional ways you can help people save. So, but I'll open it up for questions.
Lewis, my only detraction or negative is that I don't have a paper copy of this presentation.
You do have a paper copy.
Okay.
Absolutely, you
Fantastic.
have a paper copy.
Notwithstanding that, I would encourage every opportunity to engage our employees, those that are in the program now and those that have an opportunity to participate going forward, of how necessary it is at an early age and early in their tenure as employees. And Heather mentioned the issue around cash flow right now. The Roth post-tax is a way to do that as well. And it's a unique opportunity for folks that if they needed to pull dollars, they could do that without penalty. So I would encourage those conversations as well.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Are there any other questions from the committee? Okay. All right. We'll receive this as information without objection. All right, without objection. Mr. Morowski, Madam Clerk, I believe that is all that's before us today.
Yes, sir.
All right, and this pension committee meeting is hereby adjourned.
stand.
Honorable Mayor and Commissioners, it's a privilege to be here with you today. I just want to say that when King Nebuchadnezzar asked Daniel, where did wisdom come from? He said that it came from God, and that it's God that changes the seasons and raises kings and takes down kings. You're in a very valuable position today. But in the New Testament, Paul said that we are to pray for those that are in authority over us. And then it didn't say whether you agreed with them or liked them or not. It said you are to pray for those who are in authority over us. We pray for you every day. Let's pray. Father, I thank you today for the opportunity to represent you in front of this Augusta body. God, I thank you for the city of Augusta and what it's meant to me my entire life. I thank you for what it means to the Harrisburg neighborhood where we've served faithfully for 59 years. God, I lift these men and women up to you today. I ask you to give them wisdom and authority and understanding and patience and long suffering. God, I know Isaiah, the great prophet, said, let us come and reason together. And so our prayer today for this group is that they can do just that they can come and reason together, and it will be pleasing to God. In Jesus' name, amen.
Reverend Murray. God has saw fit that we meet again. And life has come full circle. No, sir, I did recognize you.
I do look different.
Reverend Murray and I had the pleasure of serving with City Council together. Thank you.
A full time.
Pastor, thank you for your prayer for wisdom, unity, and divine protection. We receive your thoughtfulness as an act of service for God. May he bless you with peace and love as your kindness shown toward us today. Thank you. By these presents be it known that Reverend James C. Murray, Jr., pastor of the Bible Deliverance Temple, is chaplain of the day. May his spiritual guidance and civic leadership serve as an example for all citizens of Augusta. Given under my hand the 17th day of May, 2022, Hardy Davis, Jr., Mayor. And Reverend Murray, we give credence to the old gospel, well, it's not old, it's a new gospel song. Please be patient with me. God is not through with us yet.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so good to see you.
Would you join me in congratulating Reverend Murray for his service as our chaplain? Reverend Murray has been a friend and a confidant for many, many years. We continue to see his faithful service in Harrisburg.
Do have, okay. Are you want to address the addendum agenda now, sir, or after the recognitions?
Is there an addendum agenda, Madam Clerk?
Can you get it on the screen? These were last minute. They're not addendum items. It's relative to the print agenda. No items added being requested.
Madam Clerk, this is additional information to existing items.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll give an opportunity for it to come up on the screen and be visible.
trying to be a little frugal with trees. So we would
You don't say.
okay. As you can see, we have under our delegation portion, item B, Mr. Brad Ushery, as well as Mr. Moses Todd, has asked that they be deleted from today's agenda because of unknown circumstances. And then for item number 12, it's a correction to the caption.
Okay.
This matter is included in your agenda books in its entirety. These words were just left from the caption.
All right, Madam Clerk, I see these as just amendments, and we'll accept these amendments without objection.
Thank you.
All right. Chair recognizes the Administrator. State your inquiry.
Mayor, I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but we also have a correction to item number 20. There's a typo. It should be $12 million.
Yeah, I corrected that on mine. All right, again, without objection. All right. Okay. All right, those amendments are received without objection. Madam Clerk?
All right. Call your attention to the recognition portion of our agenda. The Augusta Commission would like to offer its congratulations to our 2022 April Years of Service recipients for 25 to 50 years. Ms. Ruckert.
Good afternoon, Mayor Davis, Commissioners, Administrator, citizens of Augusta. It gives me great joy today to recognize our April Years of Service recipients. For the month of April 2022, we had 28 employees celebrating 5 to 20 years of service with Augusta. This afternoon, we would like to recognize our 25 to 50 years of service recipients. For the month of April, the total years of service and institutional knowledge being celebrated is 290 years. When I call your name, if you would, please come forward. Mr. Donald Scott, Parks and Recreation, 25 years. William Middleton, Central Services, 25 years. Miss Lois Archie, Utilities, 25 years. Mr. Anthony Moody, Fire Suppression, 25 years. If you are here and I didn't call your name, please see me. But once again, congratulations to all of our years of service recipients.
ready?
I'm ready, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Okay. Call your attention to the consent portion of our agenda. If there are any objectors to any of our planning petitions as well as our alcohol petitions, would you please signify your objection once the petition is read? Call your attention again to our consent agenda. Item number 1 is a request to establish a biorefinery facility, a special exception, property located, I'm looking for, at 1680 Dixon Airline Road. 1860 Dixon Airline Road. Item number 2 is a request for a rezoning from a Zone A agricultural and a Zone R1A one-family residential to a Zone Light Industry affecting property located at 3515 Milledgeville Road. Item number 3 is a request for a rezoning from a Zone R3C multiple family residential to a Zone B2 general business affecting property located at 3942 Harper Franklin Avenue. Item number 4 is a request from a rezoning from a Zone R1A one-family residential and a Zone B2 general business to a Zone B2 general business affecting property located at 1070 Clausen Road. Item number 5 is a request for rezoning of a case affecting property located at 821 Stevens Creek Road. Item number 7 is a request of a rezoning from a Zone A agriculture to a Zone heavy industry affecting property located at 1680 Dixon Airline Road. Are there any objectors to any of those planning petitions as read? Call your attention to the public service portion of our agenda, our alcohol petitions. Number 8, for a retail package beer and wine license to be used in connection with Gas Express located at 912 Walton Way. Item number 9 is for a retail package beer and wine license to be used in connection with Gas Express located at 1121 15th Street. Item number 10 is for a retail package wine license to be used in connection with Gas Express located at 2058 Central Avenue. Item number 11 is for retail package beer and wine license to be used in connection with Amen Food Mart located at 1675 Olive Road. Number 6. Okay. Okay. Are there any objectors to any of those alcohol petitions? Okay. We call your attention to an omission in the announcing of the planning petitions. Item number 6 is a request of a rezoning from a Zone R1A, one family residential, to a Zone R3B, multiple family residential affecting property at 2201 Harding Road. Are there any objectors to this planning petition? Okay. Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, we have no objectors to our planning or alcohol petitions. Our consent agenda consists of items 1 through 30.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Chair recognizes the commissioner from the 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to pull the following agenda items for clarification from the department heads. Agenda item number 1 and 7 that are companion items, 1 and 7, and agenda item number 2 as well. And then want to see if the colleagues would consent 31 and 32.
Mr. Frannum, item number 32, if I could address that. Can we do that? Okay. While they're asking for appointment of Mr. Calray, reappointment of Mr. Calray, the commission still has one appointment of its own to make to this board as well. And in the past, we've had a commissioner, along with the economic development director, serve on this authority. So that appointment needs to be made as well.
Withdrawal.
Yep, thank you.
What about?
31 is fine.
Yeah. What if you call me, yeah.
Go ahead. Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, he's already pulled number 2.
Yes.
But I want to ask you a question. I want to offer up Ronald Brown the second, for number 33. Can we just get?
Can you speak into your mic, sir? We're
I'm sorry.
having trouble. Yes.
Do we need to do the nomination process?
Yeah,
or can I open it?
and we're not ready for that because we're not
number
considering it.
7.
So why don't we wait until we get to that point, and then you can make that nomination.
And that's fine. That's fine. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, so again, there's a request, Madam Clerk, for 31 to be on the consent agenda.
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes a commissioner from the 6th.
Mr. Mayor, I think Commissioner, my colleague from the 7th.
Speaking to your microphone, sir.
My colleague from the 7th pulled what I wanted to pull, but I probably have a follow-up question on 1 and 7.
We got a whole bunch of questions.
Okay.
We'll come back to it.
Motion to approve.
No, we're not there, because I was pulling item number 20.
Item number 20, sir.
Yes. I was yielding to each of you, and then I was coming back to 20. Okay. Waiting on Madam Clerk to pull add item 20 to the pulled. Okay. All right, I've got a motion and a second. Voting.
Well, I'm second. I didn't get. Okay.
Voting.
That motion carries with Mr. Jordan Johnson and Commissioner Brandon Garrett absent from today's meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll go 1.
I think he said 1 and 7 are companion items along with number 2, if I'm not correct. Is that right? Are we going?
1, 7, and then we'll come back to 2.
Okay. 1 is for a special exception to establish a biorefinery facility on property located at 1680 Dixon Airline Road. And item number 7 is a request for a rezoning from a Zone A agriculture to a Zone Heavy Industry affecting property located at 1680 Dixon Airline Road.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Chair recognizes the Director of Planning.
All
Ms.
right.
Delaney.
Good afternoon, everyone. The Planning Commission recommended approval with 5 conditions for the rezoning of the 1680 Dixon Airline Road property. Essentially, it was accompanied by a special exception. The rezoning is to allow for a, how do we call it? Oh, I have the property owner here. But we're going to have organic waste recycling. That will be going on in a 26,000 square foot building that is completely contained and completely enclosed. One of the things that came to our attention yesterday is that the airport would like to see us put the FAA conditions on at the rezoning process instead of at the site plan, which is typical. We do typically do it at site plan. So we would like to add the condition number 6, which is prior to issuance of a building permit, the developer must comply with FTA 7460-2. And the developer has been made aware of this. He is here to answer some questions, and we take any questions now.
Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 7th and then the 6th.
That was the clarity that I was looking for. So I'm motion to approve.
All right, Commissioner from the 6th.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I mean, exactly, those are my questions as well. But is it standard for us, and so it's going to have to help me with this, we actually are approving the rezoning and we're approving to move forward with the transaction as well? Do we normally do that simultaneously, or we normally do one and come back and do the other at a later date? Because what it does say, from the rezoning perspective, it does say if we even approve the rezoning, it does not necessarily approve in the project, but we're doing both of those things simultaneously today.
Well, typically, sir, we do review the rezoning and the special exception because the intent of the rezoning is for the desired developer to be consistent with what they propose. So this would be the normal process to hear the special exception because the rezoning's intent is to get to the organic waste recycling. And so they do need to be addressed together.
Okay, so my question, Mr. Mayor, is to the business owner, if you don't mind.
Okay. All right. If the owner would tell us for the record who he is and speak to your question.
Mr. Mayor and Council.
Yes, sir.
Glad to be here today. My name is Ben McElrath. I live at 51 Conifer Circle, Augusta, Georgia. I'm here as a co-managing member of Renovatio Solutions. And actually, there's a typo in it says Renovation Solutions, so we need to change that. It's Renovatio. My partner did the Italian version of it.
Okay, if we can suspend for a moment. There's a rogue listening device in here.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm used to
what it is.
You ready?
Yes,
I'm
please.
ready for questions.
Yes, sir. I think you just answered part of it because that was my concern. As I realized, I think somebody it might have been yourself or whatever, called me a few weeks ago about this project, and at that time we were discussing about you bringing in, I guess, household waste and what have you to make the conversion. And my question at that particular time was it possible to deal with the city of Augusta to get the waste as opposed to bringing it in from outside sources to do this?
Well, there's a possibility, but right now we have a letter of intent with an outside, so a small local company that has commingled waste. So what we're going to do is take that commingled waste and separate it out to separate the metals from the plastics, and what's going to be left over is organic matter, such as food waste, paper waste, things like that. And from there, we're going to make we're going to put it into organic anaerobic digester. From there, we're going to make biogas, which we're going to turn into natural gas.
Okay.
So that's what we're doing. So right now it's 50,000 tons a year. So it's not if this works like we hope this is going to work, we can do it. Yes, we can certainly work with anybody else. But let's start small and then maybe go larger.
Okay, but also my concern was, I think at the time when you spoke with me, I did not realize it was going to be contained in a building, which is a good thing. So my concern is that we'll not be storing any of this on the premises in any form or fashion on the outside, because like I was concerned about the FAA, but as of right now, you have to operate by those standards. So I'm satisfied with that. So if it didn't get a second, I don't mind seconding it.
Would you please? Yeah, thank you. Madam Clerk, we've got a motion and a second for both items 1 and 7.
Yes, sir.
Voting.
There was 2, I believe. It's number 2.
Renovation.
That motion carries with Mr. Johnson and Garrett out.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 2.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 2 is a request for a rezoning from a zone agriculture and a zone R1A1 family residential to a zone light industry affecting property at 3315 Milledgeville Road.
All right, the Mayor Pro Tem is on deck to ask questions, but we'll hear from Ms. Delaney.
All right. So the Planning Commission, as printed in your agenda, that was the original request from the applicant to rezone to light industrial. The Planning Commission worked with the applicant, and we determined, and the Planning Commission recommended that they actually downzone to B2 with several conditions. So B2 is a lesser less intense zoning than light industrial, and we thought it would be more compatible because of its proximity to the school. In addition to that, about 90% of the lot is not developable for structures because it is in a floodway. So the final action and recommendation of Planning Commission is for a B2 business zone.
All right, thank you. Chair recognizes the Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, sir. I went by this site yesterday, and it's actually right across the street from Bayville School. And it's pretty close to, well, not pretty close, it is in the residential area. I'm pretty concerned about Milledgeville Road and McDuffie Road. Every time I look up, somebody's trying to make a parking place out of this. My understanding is that this guy just wants to park trailers next door to a school in a residential area, which is very disrespectful. I motion to deny.
Who was that, Mr.
Mason
Mason?
with the second. All right, I got a motion to deny and a proper second. Voting.
It's unanimous.
They just only did, there was a house there. They just knocked the house down. They're right next door to the street. You got it.
Number 20 next, sir.
Yes, number 20. We're waiting
Item-
on the clerk.
Item number 20. Thank you, sir. Motion to approve Augusta, Georgia's receipt of $12 million in additional funds from the U.S. Department of Treasury for the provisions of emergency rental assistance. To accept reallocated ERA funds from the U.S. Treasury. B, allow HCD to move forward with the implementation of recommended usage plan. C, allow HCD to hire 2 additional full-time staff persons concurrent with the terms of the grant, provide supplemental pay where applicable for all affected employees, and D, instruct Finance Department to add available funds to HCD's budget for immediate use and implementation upon receipt.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. To Director Welcher and Mr. Evans, I have a series of questions. Earlier this year, the state of Georgia had additional unused dollars, emergency rental assistance dollars, that we were slated to receive to the tune of almost $15 million. The number was somewhere between 10 to 15. Don't know what the exact number was. Did we ever receive those dollars?
Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, these are those reallocated funds.
Okay. All right. So 12. That's a good number between 10 and 15. Fantastic. The second question is, here in the narrative, it alludes to a recommended usage plan. I don't see that. What is that recommended usage plan beyond what we've done in the past?
The usage plan is to consider with the third-party partner, United Way, which is a part of your first ERA 1, round 1 funding, of which $6 million was the first allocation, which was expended in record time, thus making us eligible for these round 1 funds as well. Also, the commission also approved emergency rental assistance round 2 funding to tune of $7 million, and with that as well, the commission approved for ACD to continue in partnership with United Way. So all we're asking is to continue with the same usage, working with the third party, United Way, to provide replicable arrearage payments to eligible tenants who are 80% or below the area median income. So we're not changing anything.
All right, I appreciate that. And in regards to ERA 2, to date, have we expended all of those resources?
To date, we have not. To date, we've expended about 40%, but ERA2 carries a expenditure date of 2025. So with that, it allows for us, based on, like I indicated, for ERA1, the first $6 million that we got, the deadline for that, I think, was December of 2021. And I think we expended it maybe September, October, put me on that, of last year. Based on that, it made Augusta eligible for these additional funds. So what it does is bring an additional $12 million. The 40% that we've expended of the $7 million, we can just sort of put on the shelf, if you will, and work with these funds, which carry an expenditure date right now of December of 2022.
Okay. And which leads me to a follow-up question. Effectively, we've expended $2.8 million of ERA2, which leaves us substantially $4+ million. And now we've got an additional 12 that's coming, so I got $16 million. And what do we anticipate doing with the $4+ million, even though we've got a suspense date of 2025, those dollars, how will we use those to do something as it relates to housing, and or are there limitations to what we can do with that $4+ million? Or can we augment the 4 and bring the 12 forward to do something else as well?
As of right now, no, sir. Right now, I think from an eligible expenditures perspective, it sort of speaks to the arrearage of utility as well as rental payments. But I think we would have not been of good yeoman had we not moved forward and applied and looked to receive the additional $12 million that was really allocated to Augusta, even though it carries an expenditure rate of December 22. Let's just be honest. You know, there were other cities and counties that could not utilize the money, so it was recaptured back. And because of that, I don't think that I would have been a good steward standing before you to say, hey, all we have remaining is $4 million remaining, and not even have taken the opportunity to apply for an additional 10 to 15, of which we will receive 12.
Yeah, I'm not questioning that at all, Director Welch. And just for the record, let me remind you, I received the call directly from the commissioner about the money.
Yes, sir.
And said we should apply for it. Question I'm asking is, we now effectively have $16 million.
Right.
What can we do beyond emergency rental assistance? Because you've not told me that there are any additional limitations to our use of those dollars. My question is, are there additional limitations to the use beyond emergency rental assistance? To my understanding, there are none.
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
Oh. Limitations or usage?
Limitations to how we can use those dollars. In other words, can I only use those dollars for emergency rental assistance that includes paying for utilities and those services?
Utilities and rental arrearages, period.
Okay. That was my question.
Yes, sir.
All right, very well. Chair will entertain a motion to approve. Thank you. Motion and a second. Voting. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Mayor.
All right. I'm sorry, sir. I am so sorry. We have a series of other questions. All right. The commissioner from the 4th and then the commissioner from the 10th. My apologies.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very quickly, I just want to make sure for the record that it's annotated here, shows that you are going to hire potentially 2 additional full-time staff persons. Just to be clear that it's for the term of the agreement and not beyond something that the city would have to pick up at a later date. How does that work? Let's make sure we're clear.
Yes, sir. All hires run concurrent with the term of the actual grant,
Which will go through
December of 2022.
this year. So you're going to hire 2 additional people basically for this year. It's not something that can be utilized for the other $4+ million that's available.
No, sir. Every grant stands alone.
Roger that. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thank you. Chair recognizes the commissioner from the 10th.
I think the commissioner from the 4th must be a mind reader because he asked the same questions that I was going to ask. Thank you.
I think it's a prophet.
Wait a minute. He's a lot of things, but not a prophet.
We have a motion and a second voting. To the east side.
Keep trying, sir. Keep trying.
The Mayor Pro Tem has
All
indicated that he was never a break dancer. He didn't push the button.
It's unanimous. Okay, that takes us to our appointments.
Item number 32.
32. Item 32 is to consider a request from the CSRA Regional Development Authority for Augustus appointments to the CSRA Unified Development Authority.
Chair recognizes the commissioner from the 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Looks like we need to appoint someone from this authority. I'm good with the Calray aspect of it. There's two different appointments if you're reading your book. I'm not sure who I want to go with here. Can I nominate someone?
Yes, sir. The entire commission, they will be voted on in the order in which they're nominated.
Okay. I'm going to nominate Miss Francine Scott.
If we can, let's take nominations. All right. Let me draw everyone's attention to tab 32. I want you to draw your attention to tab 32. And that contains the background information for this particular development authority. Okay. All right. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? All right. All right. We had a motion for nominations to be closed without objection. Okay. All right, Madam Clerk.
Okay. The nominees for the Augustus appointments to the CSRA Unified Development Authority would be Commissioner Francine Scott and Mr. Calray. I need a motion to.
Then a motion to that effect.
Second.
Mr. Hassan and Mr. Was that Bobby Williams first? Bobby Williams. Yes, sir. And Miss McKnight was third. Thank you. You are extra if we needed it.
Okay. Voting.
It's unanimous.
Item 33, Madam Clerk.
Item 33 is to consider for appointment one to the Richmond County Hospital Authority to the current position occupied by Mac Bowman, MD, who is not eligible for reappointment. 1, Ronald Brown Sr., 2, Laura Jerner, and number 3, Ronald Brown II.
Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem.
I want to nominate Ronald Brown Jr., Ronald Brown II.
All right. Commissioner from the 6th has asked that nominations be closed.
Second.
All right.
Third.
Madam Clerk, I
Yes,
believe
sir.
we have a nominee.
We need a motion to accept the nominee and vote, sir.
Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 3rd.
Go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and motion it, so we can go ahead and vote.
Okay.
Yeah, we can go ahead.
To accept the nomination of Mr.
Yes,
Ronald Brown II,
that's correct.
MD, as Augustus appointment to the Richmond County Hospital Authority.
Second.
Okay.
All right. Voting.
Is that it?
It's unanimous.
There's no new business. This meeting is adjourned.